Hey everyone, and welcome to TopThink. Today, we're going to learn about 7 signs you're more attractive than you think. Now, let's begin. Number 1. Emotional matching. We're naturally drawn to people who mirror our personality traits. For example, if you're smart and creative, you'll find those same things attractive in another person. But how do you know which traits you're the most attracted to? In 1992, a biological anthropologist named Helen Fisher explained how personality chemistry really does work. In her book, The Anatomy of Love, she divides our personality traits into 4 categories. Each category is named after a different neurological hormone. Dopamine represents boldness and creativity. Serotonin suggests that you're more careful and conscientious. Testosterone shows that you're someone who's analytical and intellectual, while estrogen means you're nurturing, subtle, and have an active imagination. But how do these 4 categories change our definition of who's attractive? Fisher says that we go for people in the same personality category. In other words, dopamine-dominant personalities tend to look for other dopamine-dominant people. So your personality might not be attractive to some people, but to others, you're much more attractive than you realize. Number 2. Making others nervous. Do people get strangely nervous around you? Do you ever notice people fidgeting, tripping over their speech, or just lacking confidence? It's possible they're just insecure, but more than likely they're intimidated by how attractive you are. It's very common to feel nervous around someone you find attractive. You might be outgoing and confident one moment, and then reserved and anxious the next, all because someone attractive entered the conversation. According to a 2014 study from the Journal of Nonverbal Behavior, body language is usually the first thing to go. In this study, people interacted with someone that they found attractive for 10 to 12 minutes. In that short amount of time, researchers identified over 35 different kinds of flirting behaviors. Some were intentional, like twirling your hair or nodding your head, while others were entirely subconscious, like leaning forward and smiling. Once they analyzed their body language, vocal patterns came next. Now, I'm sure you've experienced something like this before. When you're around someone you find attractive, it's like your tongue gets tied in knots. You can't seem to get a sentence out without stuttering. Maybe you use way too many ums and likes. Well, participants in this study did exactly the same thing. Researchers paid particular attention to changes in their actual voice. When flirting, participants' voices got higher and faster. Their pitch changed more often, and they sounded much more animated than usual. So, why do we change our behavior so much around attractive people? The simple truth is, we want attractive people to like us. We really value their opinions of us because we want them to think we're attractive too. That sounds romantic, but it doesn't have to be. Your brain naturally associates attractiveness with all kinds of positive traits, like intelligence, confidence, and success. So, we feel this natural urge to impress them. Each time you talk to someone you're attracted to, it seems like you're stepping into the spotlight. You feel more pressure, which makes you self-conscious about everything you're doing. After all, you don't want to look stupid in front of someone you think is attractive. So pay attention to the way people behave around you. If their voice or body language starts to change, it's probably because they find you attractive. Number 3. External predictions. How do you know how attractive you are? It's a difficult thing to figure out. You can try to look in the mirror and rate yourself, but people get it wrong. Why? Well, because they're looking at themselves from their own perspective. They're looking at the same face they see in the mirror every single morning. Your own face doesn't look special or exciting to you, so instead of seeing your attractive qualities, all you see are your flaws. You hone in on your messy hair or the little bags under your eyes. You pinpoint these really specific things that you don't like, but in reality, no one else would ever notice those tiny flaws. To accurately judge your own attractiveness, you need to change your perspective. You need to step into someone else's shoes and try to see yourself like they would. This technique was actually pioneered during a 2010 study by the Association for Psychological Science. In this experiment, researchers asked people to judge their own attractiveness in two ways. First, they rated themselves from their own perspective. Just like researchers expected, most people undercut their own attractiveness. But what happened when they looked from the perspective of someone else? What kind of traits would a stranger see? Instead of noticing your own weird freckle or your slightly small ears, they'd see someone who's tall or has brown hair. In other words, they'd focus on general characteristics, big things that loosely define your level of attractiveness. When participants used this new perspective, they got much closer to their actual attractiveness rating. But why do general traits matter less than specific traits? The truth is, neither one matters more or less. They just serve different purposes. Well, when you first meet someone, you're trying to decide if you're initially attracted to them, right? You don't have time to zoom in on all the little details, so you get a sense of what they look like, and you ask yourself, do I find those traits attractive? Over time, however, you get to see their specific traits more and more. It takes longer, but in lasting relationships, those specific traits are often what your partner likes the most. So, if you want to know how attractive you really are, look at yourself from a new perspective. Ask yourself if you have those generally attractive characteristics, and if you do, that's a reliable sign that you're more attractive than you think. Number 4. Powerful connections. Your body isn't the only thing that makes you attractive. In fact, a strong emotional connection can outweigh good looks any day of the week, because that emotional connection transforms the way you look at someone. Not only do you feel closer to them, but it also changes how and why you find them attractive. A 2014 study from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that individual connections have a deep psychological effect on who you're attracted to. Alright, let's say someone does something that hurts you. From now on, you're going to view them in a more negative way, right? Every time you see that person, your brain will associate them with pain or sadness, and not with passion or excitement. So even if they're generally attractive on the outside, they won't be individually attractive to you. Your connection with them has gone south, so that's all you'll ever see. On the other hand, if you form a positive connection with someone, you see them through a more attractive lens. That person appeals to you in a more meaningful way, which creates stronger feelings down the road. More often than not, these emotional connections form the foundation of any lasting relationship. While physical attraction is good, emotional attraction is much stronger. Number 5. The bold and brave. Courage is another trait that attracts all kinds of people, because most people are afraid to be themselves. They're worried about what people are going to think. They're scared of looking stupid. But if you don't apologize for who you are, people will feel drawn to you, because that bold and brave attitude makes them admire you, respect you, and find you more attractive. This is especially common with big things like your career. Almost everyone is drawn to people who are not only ambitious, but also fearless in the pursuit of their dreams. They believe in themselves, they motivate themselves on a daily basis, and they hold themselves to a high standard. That self-confidence makes these people interesting and inspiring. But your career isn't the only way to be bold and brave. You can demonstrate the same personality traits in the little things you do. Imagine there's someone you like at work. The two of you have been hitting it off lately, so you feel like it's time to ask them on a date. It's terrifying to go out on a limb and be vulnerable like that, but taking that risk shows them that you have the courage to put yourself out there, and that simple fact can make anyone more attractive. Number 6. Infectious enthusiasm. We like people that get us excited, people whose enthusiasm spreads like wildfire no matter who they're talking to. Enthusiasm is an incredibly attractive trait for so many reasons. It makes you feel special and important when someone shows a genuine interest in you. Their enthusiasm also leaves you feeling happy, confident, and secure. You're more willing to bring down your walls and open yourself up to a stronger emotional bond. On top of all that, enthusiastic people typically carry that enthusiasm into their own lives. We already talked about why bold and brave people are more attractive, and it works for the same way for someone who's passionate and dedicated. If you're the kind of person who's always taking an interest in others, I've got some good news for you. You're probably more attractive than you realize. Number 7. Creative talent. Sometimes being attractive has nothing to do with your appearance or your personality. A 2017 study published by the Royal Society of Open Science shows that creativity can make someone attractive all on its own. In this study, participants looked at a series of face-text pairs. Their job was simple: rate how attractive each person is. It turns out whenever faces were paired with creative text, they seemed more attractive. In fact, faces that were typically unattractive got much higher ratings, all because people thought they were more creative people. In other words, if you play an instrument or draw in your spare time, you might not realize how attractive you really are. Hey, thank you for watching Top Think, and be sure to subscribe because more incredible content is on the way.